Good morning, everybody. So, Rajol,
Good
go
morning,
ahead.
Sapni.
Saptoshi, good morning.
Good morning, Amitavoda.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning, Shajol.
Good
Am
morning.
I audible? Okay. You
Let
can
me see
start,
if I
Shajol.
will start.
Just
Let
give
me
your
know if you are able
introduction.
to see my screen. Is my screen visible?
No, not yet.
Okay. Just trying to see how to, because I don't use Google Meet much. Share screen and then
There
let me
is a
share.
button, the arrow button.
Okay. Is it visible now?
Yeah, it is visible.
Give me a second.
Sure.
Are you guys able to see me as well?
Yes, you are
Is it
there.
good time to start or?
You can start, Shajol. Just give your introductions and then we can start the session.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. As you know, my name is Shajul Banerjee. I work in TCS. I head a practice called niche CRM practice for banking, financial services, and insurance industry. I have a global portfolio spanning across all the continents. As part of my portfolio, I take care of sales solution and delivery of few of the CRM products. So today, we want to talk about CRM from a project manager's lens. So, most of us, when you talk about CRM, we think of a tool, a platform, some dashboards, some KPIs, and so on, right? But the theme of today's discussion is not the platform itself. The theme is how many of the project managers unconsciously manage customer relationship management, perform CRM activities during our day-to-day work. How CRM is relevant for PMI. So feel free to stop me, contribute, ask any questions during the session. It's a 1 hour session, although we have a 15-minute Q&A towards the end. But if there is a pertinent point, pertinent discussion you want to engage with, please stop me and I'll be very happy to discuss further. So this is how I have structured this next 40-45 minutes. I want to talk about how we can change our mindset, change our thought process from managing projects to managing relationships, because relationships is very important for a project manager. Many projects fail because of lack of good relationship. Then I will give you a very brief idea about what CRM as a tool, as a platform typically is. What are the functions as part of are part of the CRM tool. You don't need to memorize it, but it will give you a perspective of what are the things which is possible using a tool if we have to use a tool at all. But the discussion is more around the strategies, the behavior, not around the tool. Then we will see CRM through a project manager's lens, how it is relevant, what are the functions which we typically engage in, what are the nuances for a BFSI, and so on. We talk about how it is relevant from PMI perspective, how PMI references CRM in its literature. We will talk about how strategically CRM or the CRM mindset, CRM focus can improve project management discipline. I have an example from BFSI project perspective. I'll talk about a case study where leveraging CRM or leveraging CRM thought process helped in project management. I prepared some sample questions for you to consolidate your thoughts, how it might be relevant for your exams. And then at the end, I want to leave you with some practical guidelines on what essentially you can do as a project manager with the CRM, keeping CRM in mind. If Saptarshi or anyone else want me to talk about anything else, please let me know. I'll be very happy to at least share my ideas, even if it's not a prepared slide.
Yes, Shajal, you can go ahead and share your practical experience. We'll be more than happy to hear from you.
Sure. Okay, so as I was alluding, the projects and project managers operate at the intersection of business, execution delivery, and the stakeholders' expectations. Right? Most of the projects either succeed or fail at the relationship there. We always think that projects fail because of scope, schedule, quality. Those are definitely important aspects of project. But the actual reason of failure in many scenarios you'll find is the erosion of trust, is lack of strong relationship, it's lack of expectation management. And since most of the projects directly or indirectly shapes customer experience, impacts the customer, it is very important to keep the customers in mind when you do a project execution. CRM as a tool or as mindset can solve the gap between this expectation and executions. And in many cases, the relationship can provide the needed buffer instead of keeping a buffer with respect to cost or effort. The relationship buffer many times helps more than other buffers that we typically keep. So, in essentially, uh, the message is that CRM as a mindset, CRM focus helps bridge this gap between the stakeholders' expectations and the way of execution. This is a very high level idea or information about what CRM is as a tool, as a platform, right? So typically a CRM tool or a software, if you think of that way, comprises of the database and the functionalities on top of that database with certain channel management systems, because CRM requires you to interact with the customer on a regular basis, right? So typically CRM is divided into three broad functions, high-level functions: marketing, sales, and service. You don't need to really memorize these or know these in detail, but it will give you some perspective. So uh, customer relationship management process starts with some or other marketing engagements. So typically, we see different companies provide road shows, campaigns, ad campaigns, television ad campaigns, print ad campaigns, road shows, your society shows, and so on, right? And what that does, before they even engage in that marketing activity, they do market research and segmentation. So they decide what is my target audience, whether it is relevant, whether there is an expected return of investment, and so on. So they do market research, segmentation of the customers, and so on. Then once the campaign is launched and campaign is executed, typically these marketing initiatives generate certain leads. So leads are the information that you get from a customer. So someone is interested in your car road show, so they have written their name and mobile number. So that becomes a lead, right? Someone has clicked on your ad, tried to move forward with filling some of the information. That becomes a lead, and so on. Right? Then they do lead nurturing. So they call the person, send an SMS, send an email, ask for coming to the showroom and stuff like that, right? And when they understand that this lead is worth taking it forward, they qualify the lead. Lead qualification is a process. Once the lead is qualified, it moves to the opportunity stage. From lead, we move to opportunity now. So then you really get the sales function being engaged. So what they do, they take that opportunity, they further talk to the customer, provide more details, understand more about customer's requirement, and then they provide um, a quotation typically. Right? This is what you will get, this is the price, this is the timeline, and so on. Many times there is a demonstration and so on. And then this typically takes few days to few weeks to few months in many cases. Eventually, there is negotiation with the customer and the opportunity gets closed. When the opportunity is closed, we call it an order, right? So an order is placed and the order is delivered, customer is billed, and then the sales cycle completes. After the sales is complete, the service department engages, right? They onboard the customer for servicing. So maybe they enable a channel, they enable an access to their portal and stuff like that. And then customer can reach out to to the company or the organization for any support. There are some proactive maintenance, proactive engagement from the service department as well for servicing. And then the service department continues to nurture that relationship. So it's not just company, most of the companies depend on repeat customers, right? Repeat sales. They want to do further sales to the customer, some cross sales, some upsell, and so on. So they nurture that relationship, and um, they want to retain the customer, renew it, expand it to with new products and so on. Right? So typically, this is what the CRM processes are comprised of. Now, you might think how it is relevant for me. So even for a project manager, think of it, which of these functions are relevant for you. So for example, market research and segmentation. So when you are in the initial phase of the project charter is created, then you create a stakeholder map. Right? So during that, you don't just write the names and their roles. Write more details about what they do, what is their interest in this engagement, how they are involved in it, what is their level of involvement, whether someone is a champion for this, or whether someone is having a negative thought about this, whether someone's job is at stake because of this project, and stuff like that. So get more details about the customer, note it down, and so on. Right. Similarly, during the project execution, also you need to keep these in mind. There will be some stakeholders with whom you'll have to have more connects, more back and forth discussions around the design or um, um, requirement or sign off and so on. Right. Even after the project is executed, also uh, there are some stakeholders with whom you need to maintain a good connections, good relationship, because the adoption of your your project output might be at stake without the relationship being strong. So there are many aspects which we will discuss over the next few slides, uh, which is relevant for project managers. Let's move forward. So CRM provides us the tools to define the strategy and the behavior during the project cycle. It's not really the software or the dashboard or the KPI. It gives us the strategy, the strategic thinking of how to handle stakeholders, how to handle a customer per se, from a project management perspective. Now, what does a customer mean from a project manager perspective? Customer need not be just the external customers. The sponsor who is sponsoring the budget, he or she is a customer. Right? The business stakeholders who are providing you the requirement, who are actually going to use it, um, the end users who are actually going to use it, uh, they are all customers. Even the IT department, the compliance department, the risk management department, the finance department, they are also your customer. They are internal customers to you. Right? So don't think customer from a lens that customers are outside of my project stakeholders. It's not just the external customers, but all these stakeholders are your customers, right? So CRM will provide us with the tools to systematically, in a structured way, manage the expectations. My communication plan will also be dependent on this building of relationship and trust, and it will help realize the value. So value in the value realization process also, you will find there are ways of enhancing or reorganizing or re-emphasizing the value realization process. We'll talk about it in a later slide. Before I go to the next slide, I just want to pause for a moment for any questions on whatever we have discussed so far.
Guys, any questions?
So let's move forward then. So is this slide? It's a dense slide, but it is a very important one because it kind of connects the dots, right? So you might ask, why are you talking about it, right? Is it going to help me in my PMP? How it is going to help in my certification process exams and so on. So see, PMBOK 6 was more around the processes, ITTO, right? Tools, inputs, tools and technologies and output, right? But PMBOK 7 taken a bold move. It has moved from a process-centric model to more of value-centric, stakeholder-centric approach. So PMI defines the projects now as not just the outcome, but not just the output of the project, but providing value in the stakeholder ecosystem. So you have delivered something. If there is no adoption, then you are not getting a value. Right? If you have delivered something, but the customer is not happy, then that will not be called a success. So it's the duty of the project manager to understand the unwritten, unstated requirements or capabilities that must be there um, to generate that value. Right. So on the left hand side, the table talks about the stakeholders, the PMBOK domains, and how CRM thought process can help. Right. So CRM talks about how we will continuously track the relationship, the warmth of the relationship, right? If there is sentiment, customer sentiment that you can sense that this is creating trouble in one of the customers' life or customers' job stake, right? It can help you detect that sentiment early and take corrective action. Right? Project management, as you all know, is not about collecting data or producing a report. It's about taking the corrective action to keep the project in track. Right? So that's the essence of being a project manager. So you continuously track relationship, you detect any changes in the customer sentiment, you align with the respective stakeholders before it gets escalated. Don't wait till it comes from the sponsor, or don't wait till it comes from the business stakeholders. Understand, track, and take corrective action before it gets escalated. In the value domain, it helps us align the benefits. You might think that you have created a great tool for the customer, but if the customer doesn't think the same way, right, it's possible. So many times, CRM will help you. CRM mindset will help you align the value. In the delivery domain, it will help you manage the expectation. Right? So essentially, the delivery team or the delivery function needs to execute stuff, right? So there is a difference between delivery and execution, right? So execution is doing it, delivery doing it in such a way that you get it is accepted, right? Delivery is, it contains the acceptance element as well. And every project manager need to deal with uncertainty, and we all are worried about, scared about these uncertainties. Right? So these uncertainties is that's what like takes this. Let's not sleep. The project manager cannot sleep because of this uncertainty. So, as I have said before, trust during these uncertain time is the biggest buffer that one can have. It's not that extra effort or extra cost that you have considered. If you have trust, you will get the buffer of extra time, you'll get the buffer of extra support, you'll get the buffer of extra cost if needed. Right? So CRM enables us to deal with all these PMBOK domains. Now, how it is relevant to the PMI talent triangle? So, as you know, PMI provides us these three structured way of defining the respective skills, right? Ways of working, power skills, and business acumen. So CRM helps us execute the project in a structured way. It helps us adapt the delivery based on change expectations or um, um, based on the sentiment of the customer. This changes our way of working. Right? CRM mindset helps us improve trust and influence. It helps us deal with uncertainty. And the business acumen skill that we get out of the CRM mindset is that it helps us understand the customer economics, stakeholder priorities, and then we are able to link delivery to business outcomes. It has to help the business essentially. If it doesn't help the business, it's not a successful project, whatever you have built, whatever you have delivered. Okay, so this kind of summarizes how focus on CRM improves project management. It helps us do better alignment with the stakeholder. We understand the goals, concerns, the decision criteria for um, from our sponsors, business stakeholders, and all other stakeholders, right? So this changes, this gets ingrained in the scope conversation, and then there is less rework or less change management activity of better alignment. CRM mindset helps us get the warning signals early. If I ask you, what is that one task or one area that a project manager has to deal with the most? What will be the answer? Anyone? If there is just one thing that a project manager needs to manage the most, what will be the answer?
So, Ashwin here, I guess whatever the risk has been planned during a planning stage, I guess project manager has to focus on that. And prior means whatever the risk identified, it should not get converted into an issue. I guess project manager has to focus on that.
Right. Very nice. Very nice. So that's the answer I was looking for. So many people who are not trained in the project management discipline, they think the project manager manages schedule. Right? You ask anyone, what is project manager? They'll give you a Gantt chart. Right? Right, and that's the common understanding, common way of thinking about project management. But project management has so many domains and so on. But most important aspect for a project manager is to manage the risk, identify the risk, take action. Right? There are 4 ways of handling risk. You all know that. So CRM mindset or use of some of the CRM tools can help you get early warning signals from your stakeholders. You can understand the sentiment. You can take action with respect to alignment, with respect to building trust. Right? And it helps in better handoff during the delivery, during movement from delivery to service stage and so on. It helps to things better. Right? There is less back and forth. And CRM during the project execution also helps us prioritize the tasks, prioritize the activities, and govern it in a better way. So essentially, CRM mindset helps project managers with better way of handling the project risk, relationship, expectation management, and building trust. Now let's talk about uh, BFSI case study, right? So banking, financial service, and insurance industry is a specific example. Why I have picked BFSI? One reason is that I work in BFSI domain. The other one is BFSI is insanely complex because there is a lot of regulatory aspects in banking financial services, lot of security aspects. Trust is very important in BFSI. A simple erosion of trust can create huge differences in the customers' responses. Right. So in BFSI, there are multiple regulators, stakeholders. There are a lot of approvals that needs to take place for BFSI projects. And as it is mentioned, relationship breakdowns can escalate into compliance issues. It's not just a project issue. It can become a legal issue, right? Compliance issue, which might shut the entire unit down. So that's why BFSI is very critical. You'll have to maintain, you'll have to understand and maintain the unsaid expectations in BFSI parlance. So on the left hand side, this loan origination system implementation case study, it required, so they wanted to reduce the turnaround time for loan origination from 7 days to 2 days. Fair enough. They need to do it faster. How do you do that? You will typically use some tools to automate some of the stuff, right? And then give more access to the customer to do certain things instead of getting it done by the employee and stuff like that. There are, you can think of different ways of reducing this turnaround time. But you need to keep in mind that there are some hidden expectations around this as well. You cannot expose the system to any regulatory risk. For example, access to the data, right? Access to the data, certain data to the customer, access to certain customer data to the employees or contractors or offshoring or whatever you do, right? So you cannot expose it to. You cannot expose any risk, regulatory risk in this process. There might be a need to have manual override for certain scenarios. So you created an automated system, and it keeps approving loans, and then you realize that you have given loans to some non some people who are not worthy of getting that loan. So there has to be some manual override, some in some cases manual checks to take care of that as well, right? And the system has to be robust. System has to be capable of handling peak loan seasons as well. Right? Many times during the Christmas and other celebrations, the personal loan segment is very popular. It gets a high demand. So you have to create the system in such a way that you have to that it is able to handle that. So essentially, the insight to the project manager that needs to be passed is that in BFSI, speed is less important than managing the risk and compliance. Would it have been some other sector, you would have considered speed is as the most important aspect. But here, you might have to compromise speed to handle compliance and risk, right? So you would think, what would cause my customer to reject this solution, even if the KPIs are met? If there is, right? What are the other unset requirements that we talked about? So this is the way of thinking. I just try to give you a very simple information insight about how project management can be different for BFSI, and then how CRM focus might help you over there. If you have focused on CRM, the customer relationship management, then you will understand that there are other stakeholders. You will manage those stakeholders' expectations. You know more about their needs and their requirements. Right? So on the right hand side, there is another case study where that insurance company was having some challenges. Their projects were getting completed, systems were rolled out, but things were not working. Different branches adopted it differently. Customer issues were still escalated across the functions, and business leaders could not show a tangible value of the investment. Right. So, what CRM-centric approach helped them? They created a single view of the customer, and they aligned the delivery with the stakeholder. That resulted in faster resolution of issues, consistent service, and faster turnaround. Right. So, what is the key learning? Engage stakeholders, continuously validate throughout the delivery, and adapt execution to preserve trust and acceptance. So before I jump to some of the questions, I think I have given you a fair idea of how to think from CRM with keeping CRM in mind. With this, I have prepared some questions that you can practice. 4 questions actually. Um, is there a poll or something over here that can be leveraged, Saptarshi?
Sorry, come again.
Is there a poll, like there are some questions if you can?
Yeah, if you guys have any question, they can raise. And Shajul, if you can tell about some your real works once you are working for TCS, what are the challenges you are facing in BFSI domain when you are using CRM tools like Sugar CRM, Salesforce, OneSibel. There are lots of CRMs out there. So in BFSI, we people want to know from your prospect that what are the challenges you face because you work 24 years. It's a huge experience altogether. So if you can kindly share some of the challenges you face for your project in TCS.
Yeah, yeah. So see, the major challenge in BFSI is things are a little slow, right? Because there are a lot of approval gates, there are a lot of stakeholders, and their expectations are different. So many times I find that for organizations, they do not want to use the same tool across geography. Right? So I have had experience where the US entity was using Salesforce, whereas the Latin entity said that no, we don't want to use Salesforce at all. And that creates it creates a problem, and it creates an opportunity for us as well. So the problem is that the same template cannot be rolled out over there. So it's a re-implementation, understanding the requirement again, doing it their way, and they wanted to use a new tool. So it might have saved some money, license cost for them, but essentially there was a lot of money spent on rolling out and designing the system. Similarly, in BFSI, many of the projects um, take longer time than normal because of some regulatory changes. So there was some regulation which has changed by the time the project got complete, right? So that kind of scenarios also I have faced. Um, and like any other project, BFSI also has the challenge of expectation management. Customer expects few things that they are not able to say upfront, and then when we are delivering, they are raising challenges. During the EOT cycle, they are raising challenges. So I'll give an example. In one of our project, there were like 20 reports to be built. So we have built those reports using the default color setting, or default font setting, and so on. Customer didn't talk about that they need to have a specific color, their company's logo's color basically. They didn't say that they need to use a specific font. So when we delivered, all the reports were rejected. And like there were 70 issues raised because everyone, all the users were raising um, raising an issue that it is not delivered properly. It is not meeting by expectations. But those expectations were unset. So that was some lack of experience from the project managers there as well. They, that project manager could not think that they will run into this issue. But in BFSI, think about it. If you're dealing with customer, if you're sending a letter to the customer, if the report is printed and sent to customer, you would want to send it with the company letterhead or company color, right? You cannot just send a red color letter coming from email coming from TCS, right? If it is TCS, it has to be blue. If it is Oracle, it has to be red, stuff like that, right? So essentially, understanding customer, keeping track of, engaging with the customer early, regular check-ins, understanding the reason for their choices helps. Okay,
Thank you,
so let's
Sajal. Any questions from the participants?
right.
Okay, I have one question, sir, regarding that.
Okay,
So,
Arindam from EY Kolkata, right? From
yeah,
Salesforce practice. Okay, go ahead.
sure. So, sir, do you agree that a project manager is a very excellent business analyst? They will succeed more than a normal project manager who come from the development background.
Um, I would say you don't need to be business analyst as such, because if you talk about business analysis, then it's more about the functions. But I think the project managers will have to wear the hat of a relationship manager. So the project managers needs to think about the business leaders. Think about what I
The internal or the external business leaders.
um, so what do you mean by internal and external?
Like so I a like let's see, I am a project manager in UI, so I need to think from the UI leadership or the
No,
client.
customer leadership, customer. Because if you are delivering it for the customers. So UI leadership has certain thoughts about how to grow UI business, right? So that will not help. That will make you might make you more selfish. But if you wear the hat of a relationship manager who is helping the customer. So if you think of the EY relationship manager, that will help. Or if you think of the CIO of the customer organization, or COO, or CEO, or chief of whatever CXO that you are dealing with, if you think of from that person's perspective, that will help. Did I explain it clearly? So
Yes, yes.
you should be able to understand and articulate why I'm spending and what is the benefit. And this is ROI, value realization. You'll have to think in that manner. It's not just delivery of a project. It's about creating business value, right? So you are creating a platform that will enable, say, online access to your insurance information. I'm just giving an example.
Yep.
So is it, if you develop a system that helps customer to get into the online portal and get certain information, is it what the end game is? No, right?
No, no.
What is the benefit of giving this to the customer? It can be, it improves the customer's customer satisfaction level, right? That I don't
Yes.
need to call someone, or I don't need to wait for the mail to come in. I can just log in and see what is my premium when it is due. I can pay it online, stuff like that. That can be one. It can be that it helps the customer, the primary customer, to sell more to the customer, right? Because when you log in, it will show some ad that you can do this, you can bundle this insurance with another insurance, and you get some discount, stuff like that, and it might excite their customer to sell, buy more, right?
Yep.
So think, if you think of that way, that if I am designing a solution, what is the value that my customer gets? Is it only regulation? Is it getting more customer? Is it being able to sell more? Is it being able to reach out to more people? If you think that way, it will help you do a better delivery.
And one more question I have, sir. So, in this AI era, how much this project management will be relevant going forward?
It will still be very relevant. So think of it this way: AI might get some insight, but there has to be people to really understand it and take action. You don't want AI to take action on people, because essentially wherever there is a relationship and trust angle, human intervention is very important. AI cannot handle relationship,
Yes.
right? So I mean, this is the question I often get: how AI is going to change all these jobs. So it can change some of the jobs that requires you to do coding, to create a document, create a report, and so on. So project manager's job will be much easier, definitely. You upload an Excel and you say that convert it into a nice PPT um, for my audience, for CX audience, or for my team, and it can curate that information properly, right? But AI cannot take the job of a project manager who is thinking like a relationship manager. The trust that person is able to build, um, because with that trust you get the insight. With that trust you get understand the expectations and so on.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Anirban. And Sumona from Microsoft. Sumona, Microsoft, Hyderabad. You have questions, please.
Yeah, hi. Hello, Shajil. Hi, Saptarshida. I have another question regarding the risk assessment and how you analyze risk assessment with the planning part. Like, how do you correlate the both? Because as we all know, as a project manager, we have to look after the risk management part first, and then we have to go for the planning thing. So, how we correlate?
So this is more of a risk management question. I might ask Saptarshi to answer better. But
Yeah.
from CRM perspective, what I can say that think about the risk of missed scope, right? Think about the risk of not understanding the unstated, the hidden expectations. Think about how, so that is in the planning part, right? Identification and planning part. No, sorry, in the identification part. In the planning part, what you can do is that when you analyze the risk, understand how many of them are really dependent on the resolved or handled relationship, right? So you'll find that many of the risk can be mitigated or handled through a better management of the stakeholders. So that you can do.
Yeah.
And
Thank
one
you.
thing I want to add, Shajul, after mitigations, even after you accept risk, you transfer these, some of the risks are still active. Those are called residual risk. And this residual risk we have to monitor every day according to the sovereignty of the value of the threshold and risk appetite which we have, and accordingly we can make the risk registers of the risk probability and the impact for that particular module we have, and then we can break the risk according to the complexity which is called RBS, risk breakdown structure, and then we can share these risks to the different stakeholders and they will understand who will be able to do what next, and they can make a dashboard with the KPIs with the different risks from the different projects, and they will understand that okay, which risks should prioritize first according to the impact, and then we can monitor those risks, because maybe today it is an issue, it may be a risk tomorrow. So it is obviously advised to all the project managers, best practices to go with a risk plan properly. Even risk is coming from the day one when you have project charter has been identified, project sponsor, approved project managers to go ahead with the projects, and even after end of the project when the delivery has delivered, then also there are some risk. So risk is something which we'll monitor from very upfront. During execution phase we have a lots of risk, we put those risks to our risk registers and we will monitor. We can mitigate our risk qualitative and quantitative way. If it is qualitative risk analysis, probability and impact. If it is quantitative, we have a different tools we can go, like in statistical process control, Monte Carlo analysis. We have a fishbone diagram, we have a 80-20 rule, Pareto diagram. Those are all part of the PMP, but in practical, if you go for end to end risk analysis, you can take help of these tools to go give you the better answer that why this risk is arise, what is the RCA of that risk, and what are the plans we can go for the risks, mitigations plans. Yes, Rajiv from Oracle Corporations. Yeah, Rajiv, you have questions.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, hi, Saptoshita. Hi, Sajal. Let me first express my sincere gratitude for having Sajal. Okay, thanks for expressing your experience in all the domains in CRM. So I have one generic question, sir. Also, Saptoshita, in terms of, let's say, from CRM perspective, in terms of conflict management, okay, let's say there is some conflict between the expectation. Okay, maybe customer has agreed for something in the beginning of the project started, and then there is a scope creep. Now customer wants a different thing, or there is some conflict with other vendors. Okay, so in terms of your experience, sir, what are the golden rules, what are the don'ts and do you follow in generally to tackle this situation, the conflicts?
Very good question. So again, I mean, it comes back to the relationship again. If you check in with the relevant customer ahead of the time, right, or on a regular basis, then you will know what customer wants, right? When you are identifying the stakeholders, that time itself understand their challenges, their aspirations, why they're doing it. So, in essence, you need to wear that hat, right? As I was giving that example of creating a portal for customers to see the insurance information. Think why I'm giving this. I gave a great system, but it doesn't help me cross sell. Gave a great system, but certain information which is very essential to the customer is not shown there. Will your customer be happy? I'll give you a very specific example. What annoyed me sometimes. So we all used ULIP, right? Unit linked insurance product, right?
Right,
ULIP.
right, right,
So if you log into the portal of you have created a new leaf with say Tata AIA or someone, what is that specific information you are really trying to see? You are logging in every month. What is that you are really trying to see?
I mean, maybe the reviews, like
No,
the
no,
from the
it's
other
you have
customer. Or,
already created a new leaf.
okay, okay.
So you have your insurance paper and everything, but you're still
Mhm.
logging in every month to see to certain information. What is that? What can be the information that really a customer would want to see?
It's a value. It's a value. It is increasing or not.
Yes.
It
So the value
yes.
of the fund. right? That where you have
Yeah.
invested, right? You don't want to
Right.
see when this policy is going to mature. It's anyway going to mature in 15 years. You don't want to see what is your premium and stuff like that. But that
Mhm.
value is very important for you, right?
Right.
That's what you are concerned about. Now, say your customer gave you the requirement and everything, but they didn't talk about it.
Mm.
So essentially, the adoption will be very less, right? Nobody is going to log into an insurance portal to see all other information. When I created this insurance, who is my agent, and what fund it is going on, and so on. So they want to see what is the value, whether it is going up, going down. Do I need to move from one to another, right? So that's what I'm saying. That many of the unsaid hidden expectations can be learned by engaging with the customer or thinking from customer's perspective. If you have a good idea about your customer, then you will know it. There will be less conflicts. Now, if it happens, how do you do it, right? So there are different conflict management tools that you adopt.
Mhm.
That's a
Thank
separate chapter altogether.
Thank you, Sajul. I just want to put here,
Thank you.
Amitaoda, you come from different background, and Praveen from one of Amitaoda is from L&T Engineering, and you are handling this kind of CRM with the government, the stakeholders, defense, MOD. So if you can share your idea about the CRM part, of how you handle these things in your areas, it will be helpful for us. Even you can ask Sajul to your experience.
Yeah,
Amitaoda.
thank you, Saptarshita, and thank you, Sayed. It was really an engaging session. And see, there are two things that we are looking at. One is the project side. When we look at the manufacturing, so we had multiple stakeholders, even the Grama Sabhas, the Pali Sabha, which is mandatory to have an clearance before setting up in a project, and then our government agencies and villagers and all those things. This is one thing where trust is very important, which you rightly spoke about. Still, if you see the recently emerged videos of Vedanta Sijimali mines, so bauxite mines, which is basically the Peso Act is also over there, so where they have tribals and mining is uh, awarded to the company. Uh, but still the trust is not built between the company or the organization and the people living in that area. So this is one critical aspect where to build a trust, to build on a projects, especially in these kind of manufacturing setup where mining and these kind of affairs are there. And the other part which I see towards the customer in our downstream vertical, where we have our value added products, which is called as ABS blocks, which is in our two wheelers, four wheelers, and many other downstream products for our building and construction products. I'm talking about aluminum sector. So there we have a variety of customers, those who come and audit our processes also. So once that relation is not built, even they have a J8 just in time inventory because they're automotive sectors and all sort of things. And there was a scenario where every alternate day a person used to carry few of the items, and the client or the customer used to sit in the airport and used to take that material every alternate day. So that is the level of requirement of the JITJ, just in time inventory. So what kind of trust are you building with them? So the entire their process will be stuck if your supply chain is not in sync. So the trust we are having, and we are having a 10 crore penalty as well. And the other way is a high risk and high EBITDA product. The EBITDA is high, but the risk is also very high because it's an ABS block. So it is into the two wheelers, four wheelers, where human life is uh, at stake. So the level of trust is very much
they expect certainty, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is a very high level of both ends. I'm saying the building phase of the project and the after building of the project when you are producing the value added products and delivering it to the customer. So I'm talking about two different angle of customers.
Yes, yes. So I you have raised a very important point. So this customer relationship is not only during the project execution, but the all the information about the customer and so on is relevant even after the project is delivered, right? So capturing the information, aligning it or arranging it in a way that it can be passed to the post project, like post implementation support and stuff like that is also very relevant. So customer relationship doesn't end with the project end. The trust, the relationship has to continue for adoption, for further enhancements, and so on.
Yeah, Praveen.
Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. If you allow me, I would just add one more thing. So there is so one is pre-project and during the project and after the project, and in the meantime, in the value chain also we have our internal stakeholders. So which I missed to quote that. So we are having an internal internal stakeholders value in the value chain, right from bauxite refining and then the next process, the handover. So process wise, so we had created an SLS where every quarterly they are on a transactional basis. Basically, in SPQ, DCM format, safety, productivity, cost, quality, delivery, and moral. So they are having a parameters. We are signing off the parameters, and basis on the requirement of the customer, the SLA is being dynamism changed and scoring is being done, and with OFS opportunity for improvement. If there is score is below, so the customer is giving you opportunity for improvement. So what exactly he is in need of. And the other part is we at a complex level, at a broader level, we are taking a perception based survey on a simple six set of questions where we conducted on half yearly. So it's a feel basically. It's not on a transactional bit but at an emotional level. So we are seeing the two perspectives. One is transactional on a quarterly basis, you on parameters you agreed upon, you are delivering it or not, and at an emotional level, how are we dealing with at a half yearly level. So these two things are also gives us quite insights where to improve. And basically this is a Kano model where uh,
Yes,
we put in and used it. So emotional level, because okay, I am delivering but my behavior is not good.
you're right.
Very nice.
So here
So
it is.
Yeah.
Praveen is also part of the CRM stakeholder management, which we can tell power interest grid. That is very much important, that how much interest you are being a stakeholder and your power, and then we can put your ideas to the KPIs and understand that where we are according to the stakeholder management. We can have a proper CSAT where we can move a proper project, that we have a good CSAT after the delivery, even when it goes to the maintenance phase as well. Thank you,
yeah,
Praveen.
thank you all. Thank you for the patience.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And Amitabhoda, if you can give your idea from MOD.
Okay, so Shajal, thank you so much. For me, this was more of a learning because I come from a very, very different industry background and a different environment of the industry. So in my industry, we have huge security challenges, so we are not connected, electronically. I was trying to see in your initial slides where you are presenting, but there are some things which was very pertinent, which Shojol as well as Praveen also was speaking just now, that your customer relationship doesn't end during the project. It starts much before,
Yes.
and it of course ends much later because you continue that journey. It's a journey. It's not an event which ends with the end of the project delivery, because that's
Correct.
how your organization gets the opportunity, gets a binding with that particular customer, and continues that business relationship also, because finally we are in the business of creating value for both my organization as well as for the client organization. Uh, the other thing is, we have very different kind of stakeholders. Of course, what Praveen was saying, right from internal. When I look at internal stakeholders, right from maybe quality, supply chain, production. At the other end is the customer side. So what we do typically, like last year when we were doing as part of our annual objective. So the guy, I am a project director of a project. So I have a team which is looking at contract management. So we put a metric, say, with you will respond to every customer correspondence within 48 hours of receipt. You may not answer his query, but at least you will acknowledge that yes, we have received and we are working on it. So that is something which I have been doing as far as customer communication is concerned. Same way when we look at a measure, I will just give this example. So last week I got a call from a very senior person in my customer quality agency. He said, "Ade sahab, every day when morning I open my mail, I come to office, I see one or the other reply has come from your team." So, I said, "Sir, I'm very happy because that is what my aim is, that when you raise a query, I should be able to respond to you within 48 hours." Now, the issue is not about responding in 24 hours or 48 hours. The issue is building that trust. That is very, very important because that is what finally, when Shajal was showing how PIMBOK from 6 to 7, it has changed. So it is looking at value addition. It is looking at much beyond a transactional relationship. The last other point I want to also give another example that when I said the relationship doesn't end with this particular in the current project that I am doing, we started laying the seeds way back in 2013, from 2013, and these are big projects and of course long gestation projects. Finally the RFP came in 2019. It takes 5 to 6 years of lot of effort from creating, because you're talking of the country's security, and you are talking of very big projects of strategic importance. So it took us 6 years, and then after thereafter convincing the customer. So the relationship is very important on the way the contract finally gets defined, the RFP specifications, your clearances, finally the contract, that is on the pre-contract phase. In the project phase, this continues. Now, just to give a side example, the person in Delhi, who's the nodal agency for the contract, the other day he calls me and says, "Sir, there is one requirement that is coming up. So I'm giving you a pre-alert. Please respond to it. We are looking forward." Now, see, this project has created a thread which
Right.
probably in the next 5 to 6 years will create another mega program for us to execute. So that is how the chain is. So all of us, it is important that we create a value for the ecosystem. That may be the main client, the client's quality agency, or the client's. I mean, I think in all your IT projects and all, you have quality, you have testing agencies also. So it is very important to create that value for each. So that is how you enrich, and that is how you build this a very robust customer relationship. That's all I had to share.
Thank you, Amitavuda, for your insight. Thank you very much. So, before we close the sessions, do you guys have
Uh,
any question?
I I have like two more slides. If you
Yes,
some
yes,
questions
Sajal.
I have prepared. Maybe next 5 minutes we'll close. Huh?
Sure.
Okay. So let's see if sorry. Let's see if we can answer these questions based on our discussion so far. Okay. So what is the answer to the first question on the left hand side? A senior stakeholder resists the project but offers no explicit objections. Team morale is impacted. What is the most effective response for the project manager?
I would go with C always.
Okay. Anyone else?
See.
So C is the is the correct answer.
Yes.
How about the next one?
Is it the A?
To change control or
Stakeholders often project success. So they are not saying that um, it is. So the contracted features are delivered, but they are not able to. Um, they are questioning the success. So then the C again is the right answer as per.
Yes, C is the right answer.
C is the right because then you defined what is the value that you expected, and then whether this alignment it is aligned or not. So further discussion around whether the outcome is meeting the expectation or not, and
Right.
then it might call for scope like change control or
Scope
so on.
improvement.
Right.
Right.
Okay, let's see the third one, the first one on the left hand side. See, this is a very, I
C.
mean, many of us have seen this, right? And
Proactively engage the stakeholders.
Yeah, see.
See,
so, yeah, so even if they're giving acceptance, they're not participating. So many times we might think that well, they have got complete trust on us, and then let us move forward, and then it's a good thing. But actually, it's not. If they're not participating, if they're not as excited, then there is something going on in their mind. So it's important to understand what is it. Okay.
Right.
Fourth one.
I guess it should be a B.
Yeah, B.
Be exposed.
Yeah, under the stakeholders analysis, you are referring for.
Because
Yes.
many times these informal stakeholders can be a big detractor to your project success. Right. Many times you don't know, even the personal assistant of the CIO might stall your project. Right. So it's important to understand all such nuances, which clue in this power interest matrix that
Power interest grid.
right. So there are some people who may not have that power, but they are sitting closer to the power. Right? They can put the word in the ear of the CIO in a negative or positive way. So, I mean, I have worked as relationship manager earlier. It is very important for us to understand who has access to the power, right? Who has access to the power centers and leverage that. So very good. I think uh, we could answer most of the questions. So this is the concluding slide. These are some of the practice toolkits that you can leverage. Right? In different project stages, you can leverage. You can do certain things. You don't need to create new artifacts, new documents, or anything. You can use the existing ones because these are all PM artifacts on the right hand side that you can see the recimetric, stakeholder register, project charter, and communication plan, and so on, right? So you can reuse the same artifact, just do it in a different way, keeping the customer in mind. Project manager has become more human, less robotic now. right? In PM Box 7, more emphasis is on the stakeholder centric, value centric approach. Not just you asked me to do this, I have delivered you this. Right? I can give another example if it has, if I have like 1 more minute. So in a company, they were talking about creating a toaster, right? So all the engineers assembled, then they created big plans, and then the engineers created a plan that that involves optical measurement. You measure the density of the bread. You measure how much light is going to the other side. If it changes to a certain level, then it stops. And the eventually the price of that device comes to something like $1,000. Now, who is going to buy $1,000 toaster, right? So there was an unstated requirement that it has to be affordable. All they needed is just a timer which will switch off after 3 minutes or 4 minutes, based on what the user chooses. Right? So that's the difference, being customer centric and being robotic, right? So if you are a project manager who has the task of delivering something, you would have delivered that $1,000 design. If you are a value centric, stakeholder centric project manager, you will think that no, it doesn't make sense to create $1,000 um, toaster, right? So it's the change in mindset, change in behavior. It's not adoption of tools or techniques. So I would leave you with this, and if there are any further questions, I'm very happy to answer.
Any questions from the participant before we close the sessions?
Any feedback for me as well?
Yes, it will be good to have if you guys can give the feedback. And it's a wonderful sessions. Thank you, Shajol, for your time. Thanks, Praveen, Amitabuddha, and all for your insightful, your real-time experience. What I will do, I will upload these sessions recording to the YouTube channels after doing some customizations, and then we'll publish that. And any questions, please keep posted to Shajol. Shajol, you have your email ID or your
You can
LinkedIn
connect me in LinkedIn. So if you
LinkedIn.
can search Sajal Banerjee TCS, you'll find
I
me.
has already shared your profile. So guys, if you have any questions, so add him and keep posted. So thank you, Shajol, and everybody for this wonderful sessions, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you, Shajol.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
all. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.